Good morning and welcome to the driveway and to my truck. It's back. This is my 1989 Ford Ranger manual 4x4 single cab long bed. I bought this to replace my two-wheel drive one because I wanted to go off-road, and I got it for the princely sum of $1,800 with a bad transmission, thinking maybe we could fix it, but the transmission had been run out of fluid and overheated, so that just wasn't going to happen. A new transmission came to me for about $750 one state away, and my excellent friends got it thrown in for me and got the truck all sorted out. Well, mostly. It was running and driving again, but the tires were 20 years old, so I sourced some 31s off of Facebook Marketplace and had them put on, thinking that I'd be good to go. Unfortunately, they didn't fit, and we noticed that one of the rear leaf springs, actually both of them, were broken, so justification for a lift kit. I bought a 4-inch rough country because it was cheap and had the rear springs, but after the truck sat in my backyard for about 8 months on jack stands, I realized I was never going to get around to installing it myself, so I paid a shop to do it for me. That was about $2,050 in labor and took an experienced mechanic 2 full days of work to accomplish. So now it's back. My 4-wheel drive, 4-cylinder Ford Ranger. Except it's not 4-wheel drive right now because the shift motor doesn't work. Also, the tailgate doesn't open, the exhaust is dumping right onto one of the rear shock absorbers, and probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting about. So let's work on that. I just gotta say, I love the look of this truck, and the lift kit just makes it look so much better. Pretty comprehensive. Mechanic was pretty complimentary of it. He said I brought him everything he needed. I also brought extended brake lines, which is good because the rubber brake lines that it had were completely shot. So it's got some nice braided brake lines. I'm not going to say it's got good pedal feel like a car or anything, but it is reasonably competent. And then I got it aligned. They got the alignment looking great. This thing drives fantastic. I did not get extended sway bar links because front sway bar, what's that? We don't need that anyway. So lots of cool stuff going on here. Big fan of these tires. These are Goodyear Wranglers, of course. They're quiet on the highway. I'm a big fan of it. So the 4-wheel drive system in these trucks, 90% of these were sold with automatic transfer cases because, well, it was the 80s. Automatic stuff was fancy. And that consists of some buttons here that you push, and you put it in 4x4 mode, which is 4 high, and then you can switch between 4 high and 4 low with this button. Except that it didn't work. So, hey, look, there's the module. You unhook all the connections, break half of them in the process because they're all old brittle Ford plastic, and then you can do a test procedure. Long story short, it passed the test procedure. So then we popped out this switch, and hey, the buttons do nothing. So I ordered a new switch panel off eBay, but it isn't here yet. It hasn't even shipped yet, so I might actually just break this open and solder in some new switches for now. However, what else I can do is I had a little bent piece of metal, and I don't know where it is, but I was using it to short out a couple of those pins, and what I got was clicks from this, which meant the buttons were working, but no 4-wheel drive. So if we look under the truck, we find the 4-wheel drive motor, just laying on the ground, as you do. There's a few bolts holding it on. This thing was doing nothing. I put 12 volts to it manually, still nothing. So I took it apart, cleaned off the commutator, which was absolutely filthy, put it back together, and hey, lo and behold, it ran on 12 volts now. So I put it back in the truck, and nothing. It just kind of shook back and forth a bit. So then I took it apart again, and the commutator was already filthy again. So for whatever reason, the brushes are just falling to pieces. So, new motor, let's put it in. I could not find a single video or instructions on this, but this is the connector for this particular era of Ford, and you'll need to depin it to get it out. There's this little red donut that needs to be pried out, and you actually pry it from the center. There's a little notch there, and you pry out, and it lifts right out, and then you can just move these tangs, and out come the wires, because you have the center ground, and then this 4x4 confirmation switch that need to come out, and then those just get pinned right back into the new one. They are tough to get all the way through though. And there's two. Well, there she is. But now the question is, does it work? Now, here's the problem. I've got a 30-inch inseam, and this thing's lifted 4 inches plus the tire diameter. Bit tricky. Let's just see what it does. Let's see, this should be 4x4. What happens if I hit this? Whoa. It says we're in 4x4. Oh, I just heard another click. I wonder if that was a confirmation click. Let's try this button. Low range pending. Clutch in. Oh, it says low range. Okay, brake release. I don't have anything behind me, right? Okay, no, cool. Ooh. Oh, that feels like low range. Oh yeah, did I mention the power steering? Oh yeah, that is clutch out right now. We got working 4-wheel drive, baby! I've never had a vehicle with 4-wheel drive before. Okay, so if we clutch in, take it out of low range, take it out of 4-wheel drive, maybe, take it out of 4-wheel drive. Ooh, and we're back in 2-wheel drive. Yes, it works. I can't believe it was that easy. Just the motor. That was like $40. I thought I was gonna spend like the next 3 weeks of my life diagnosing weird electrical issues with this truck. Holy crap, that is phenomenal. Okay, next up, tailgate and exhaust, because that's what's really necessary for me to drive this thing and use it as a truck. The power steering, leak, and the AC, that is all secondary. So back to the driveway. Okay, so I'm a hack, and I know hackery when I see it, and this is some pro-grade hackery. Let's take a look here. We got our stock exhaust, very cromulent. Those bolts are never coming apart. Then coming back here, uh-oh, we got a little rusty rust right before our exhaust hanger, followed by the AutoZone Special, flex pipe, cherry bomb, and it turned down, pointed directly at the rear shock, which has already spouted soot all over my new rear shock. Not that much of value would be lost if something happened to that shock, but I paid for it. I'd prefer to prolong its lifetime. Also, this makes ungodly noises going down the road, so I think my plan is I'm going to cut right here, and then I'm just going to do a 45 right out the side using more AutoZone parts. I figure it can't get much louder than it already is with that, and at least if it's blasting out the passenger side, well, that makes it everyone else's problem and not mine. 1.9 inches. We'll call that 2. I don't know, you guys. This extension cord is pretty good, but I don't know if it can carry enough amps. Oh well, that'll just keep me from blowing through the pipes, I guess. So the other object of my annoyance, wow, this truck is tall now, is this tailgate. It doesn't open. This just kind of happens as these latches wear out. So I got a new latch, Dorman, I think. So now, there we go. Dorman part via Amazon Prime, 90699. It is not chrome, but it is metal. And if we look here on the side, you can see what's worn out. This little Y shape here has just kind of gotten beat back. and so it doesn't move these as smoothly as it should, or as far. This, oh, that's a nice action on that. I just got to get these guys out of here without breaking them. Haha! And then what we have here is this new tailgate piece, because the one that came with the truck was super beat up. Heck yeah. A couple of small things came in and needed done, most notably the crank window and replacing the obnoxious Ford shift knob. What a lovely little powder-coated thing. Yeah, I know. The trailer hitch also came in, which goes somewhere under here with all of this rust and whatnot. I don't know, it just goes under. It's a Kurt, it's good stuff, I think. All the bolts came off surprisingly easy. Then I hammered out the stock mounting hardware and replaced it with Kurt's carriage bolt and weird retaining plate system, and bench pressed the whole thing into place, which went, well, minimal yoga required, really. Next up was going to be actually drilling the frontmost holes for the whole hitch assembly to bolt to, which was a really pleasant process. Really not completely covering me in metal shavings at all. It was really fun. Yay! Trailer wiring was up next, and of course that was just a Kurt Y harness. Plugs in to the bed disconnect instead of behind the taillights, which is wonderful. I absolutely hate those taillight systems. Installation was just plugging it in and then using a bunch of zip ties. Even I couldn't possibly mess this up. And then it was drop hitch time. It fit okay.
Can we get some shims in the chat, please?
So with the last of my projects completed, there was really only one thing left to do.
Let's go use this truck for something.
But first, let's check the T-case fluid.
Yay.
Okay, good, it has some. Also, let's change the oil, which was gritty, which is weird. And then we went to a friend's house and had him evaluate its off-road prowess in his front yard. No. Okay, well, I'm convinced. So let's load up the dog and the girlfriend and head out into the Flint Hills in eastern Kansas to a place called Tita Rock to start with. I mean, let's be honest, these trails are nothing special, but it's a pretty good opportunity to put some miles on the truck and actually see what shakes loose. And everything was going pretty well right up until the point that the dog decided to run after its toy and go straight through a barbed wire fence. Somehow the dog was okay though. The Flint Hills is one of those things that just doesn't come out right in pictures or videos. In person, it is
very beautiful in its own way. It doesn't have the stunning majesty of mountains or any particular drama to it, but a serene sort of rolling terrain that just manages to hide what's over the next hill. I wouldn't recommend coming to Kansas just to see them, but if you're passing through, it's definitely worth a detour through the Flint Hills just to have a look. And all of these lease roads and open prairies are more or less open to exploring, so I looked up a local guide on places to explore in a Jeep and took my, air quotes, Jeep and did some exploring. Ultimately, pretty much all this could be done by a family sedan from the 90s until we took a right when we should have took a left and ended up on an unmaintained lease road, which had some really neat stuff, like this water crossing, and getting out of the water crossing, which required 4 low, which was super fun. And the terrain was just kind of enjoyable. We were able to see the communication tower from earlier, so that was pretty neat, but then we hit a closed gate and had to turn around and go back down into the valley, and I believe this was the Verdigris River that we crossed. After crossing this little puddle, I felt pretty accomplished, so we headed home after a quick stop at a pretty nifty looking gas station and headed right into the sun. Cool.
Can't see anything!
Clearly, extended sun visors were going to have to be on my modification list. The trip home was pretty smooth on the highway in this truck. I mean, it took probably 20 seconds to get up to highway speed, but once it was there, it drove incredibly well. The steering is actually excellent and required very little correction to just keep going straight down the road. My tolerance for slow cars is pretty high, but even I would admit that this car is bordering on dangerously slow, so I might have to do something to address this in the future, but for now it's perfectly usable and it did get us there and back with no problems. The one thing I did realize is that my tires were aired up to 35 psi, and once we aired them down to 25, the truck rode way better. I don't really have a good way to end this video, so I'm just going to leave you here with this beautiful Kansas sunset. Thanks for watching.